Sharing is caring. Why would I watch something alone if I can watch it with you guys, though I might be alone? This is not the time I usually go live. I have to run in an hour or so, maybe an hour and a half, going to Jerusalem. And this week is Yom Kippur. So basically, you're going to get live streams today, tomorrow, I think Tuesday, and then Yom Kippur, and then it's the weekend. So I'm overdosing you now so that you wouldn't complain later. I'm just joking. So I don't know, is anyone here? Hello, nice to see you, nice to meet you. Let's see the PBD podcast. I thought it's something fun to share with everything that's going on. I know there was the Netanyahu speech in the United Nations. There is Trump. There is the Gaza thing. We're going to talk about it when we talk about Gaza on Tuesday. So that would be great. There are going to be a lot of gossip there. It's going to be awesome. Be prepared. All right, let's watch because let's have some fun. Let's react. I found, okay, let me just start with something that I feel like maybe some of you already realized, that when it comes to some ideas and opinions, what Jews in America would call anti-Semites in America is actually very similar to what Israelis think as well. Talk about USS Liberty. Why would I? And a friendly fire, it happens. Well, I don't know what they were doing. I didn't look up to it. I didn't look into it. To me, it's what bothers me more than USS Liberty is what happened to Altalena. So go check this out. Search for Altalena, and then after you educate yourself about Altalena and you write a passage about what happened there and what you think about that and what does it mean, then ask about USS Liberty, all right? If you don't know about this, like, go learn something. All right, let's watch. And I don't care about the racial stuff, honestly, not too much. But I'm gonna go through it pretty fast.
America is no longer America. Mass migration is changing what America is. And I want to conserve what America historically has always been.
Well, that's a little bit, yeah.
So he wants it to be tribes and people that follow bison herds. Nick Fuentes is for bison herding following lifestyle. Right. That's what I'm getting. It's so funny to me. It's like, this is what happens when you're like too young at what you do. I don't think you should bring people who are don't have their frontal cortex fully developed yet into the front line, because I think it also stunts their growth. And the other thing I think is that not only that they have to be at least 25, they even should be, it might even require us being 30, I would say.
No. That's a little bit harsh.
Well, I'm not in favor of interracial marriages. That's against my values. I want to have a white wife. I want to have white kids. That's
Well, I don't like, okay, you can have that.
important to me.
That's kind of racist.
I agree.
Okay.
But let's remember the context.
How bad is the video? Is it appropriate
You
to
can
just
pull
show?
it up, yeah.
Rob, can you pull it up? I'm actually curious on how bad the video is.
It's funny search query.
No. You don't need to do it. Drop in the N-word. How is your approach going to change moving forward?
I don't think there's much that needs to change.
I've seen the tweets. I've seen the videos.
I don't platform trolls.
But how are you processing this?
I'm going to tell you the truth. I thought there were things about the memorial that were distasteful. I did not like him when he was alive. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, listen, you're going to the dark side of where you're going right now. Is that kind of where you're going or not at all?
I didn't even want to do the show at that time. I was looking for an off-ramp. At that point, they were trying to knock me out. It made me want to stay in the game.
I got it. Okay. So the obvious question is, why would you put Nick Fuentes on your podcast? Why would you do that? My lawyer.
Okay. To his defense, he brought up the guy that actually, so he brought the Persian person that was a founder of the IRGC. This dude is a war criminal. He has blood on his hands, and he brought him over and had a talk with him. So Nick Fuentes, all right, with all due respect to Nick Fuentes, like, listen, I lost trust in Nick Fuentes' anti-Semitism when I don't watch his content too much at all. But at some point, he said something in the context of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. He said something about what would happen if somebody assassinated or something happened to Ben Shapiro, God forbid. And he lost me at God forbid. I was like, sir, like, what kind of genuine anti-Semite would say God forbid on the idea that a Jew would be removed? Look at Hassan Piker. He would never say, let's say Ben Shapiro has something happened to him, God forbid. Hassan Piker would never say something like that, ever. You know? Nick Fuentes, like, seriously, you're going to lose your base. I'm just a little tip.
Do it. You know what's a great thing? I don't have sponsorship to lose. I don't have to worry about an investor saying they're not in. No. And me, for my entire career, I'll talk to anybody. And the reason why I wanted to speak to him is because this interview happened the day after me leaving Charlie Kirk's memorial, which was the most magical revival I've been in my entire life. Charlie was 31. He's in his mid to late 20s. And I feel what we need today more than anything else is to continue talking to each other. And if we don't learn about each other, what are we going to do? Hate, misinformed, agitate, divide, continue to call each other out and create this temperature to go higher and higher and higher? No, guess what? You know what podcast I did with this guy? I don't know if there's a podcast that you'll learn how he became who he became. What caused him to go at Daily Wire, one point that became a Jew, converted Nick Fuentes.
Skip that.
Did you ever think?
Okay, let's go.
Come on, this is not good.
Honestly, I don't care.
You're going to be tied in a group.
Fuentes.
You're in a good place. So that makes me want to talk to the guy. But let me tell you, yesterday I'm at Charlie Kirk's memorial. Obviously, the late, great Charlie Kirk. I'm there. A couple comes up to me, okay? And I'm standing next to Adam, and Vinny's there, and my two boys, Dylan and Tico, are there. This couple comes, can I take a picture with you? Yes, of course. We take a picture. And then the guy gets a little too close to me, a little bit uncomfortable, but he didn't seem like a weird guy. Mm-hmm. Hey, I don't know if you paid attention. He has stopped saying the N-word. Please have him on. I said, who are you talking about?
I don't care about the N-word.
It happened before. And so the first thing I ever watched actually was Thomas Sowell on Uncommon Knowledge with, I think,
the best.
Peter Robinson. Yeah, they're both excellent, from the Hoover Institute. And that was actually the first thing I ever watched, and I just devoured it. I devoured everything.
At 12?
Yeah, 12, 13, 14.
Who introduced you to Thomas Sowell?
I just Googled it. A buddy of mine in school was telling me about the private sector. I said, what is the private?
It's such a classic thing. So he admired a black person, and then he wanted to be one. So he started saying nigger, and then he learned that he's not a black person. So he went on a rampage against black people. Okay, case closed. Where's the interesting?
What was interesting about it is very liberal, but not leftist, not very progressive. So even though we were in the middle of a very progressive revolution under Obama, I mean, these guys were all liberal, but they weren't communists. It wasn't like New York or Portland.
So what year is this? When you were junior in high school, this would make it what?
2015.
2015. Okay, so this is, has Trump yet announced anything?
So he announced August 2015. So it was actually right around that time.
Got it. Okay, so you're there, you're getting into these debates in junior year, and then Trump announces, and then what do you do?
So after Trump announced, this is right around the time, so actually he announced in June 2015. And so I was very political, obviously super engaged with the election. And at that time, so this was going into my senior year of high school, I had a radio show on the high school radio station and a TV show on the high school TV station. I did both. And one of my first shows I've ever done in my whole life was talking about the election. And that was a very crowded primary.
I
It was like 17.
Somehow I skipped the most important part, because this is why I thought I'd watch it with you guys.
Candidates. I don't know if you're...
Sorry, here. Like, his life is not so interesting, I'm not gonna lie.
About before, but all in all, I actually think, here's what's going to be interesting. I actually think his audience is going to like it. I think conservatives are going to like it because you're finally getting to know who this guy is. I actually think, it's going to sound weird, I think Jews in Israel is going to like it. That's kind of crazy. Yes, I actually believe that. But having said that, I hope you enjoy getting to know this individual that is both loved by Groypers and hated by many. And if you're like me, you're in the middle 20% that just doesn't have a clue who the guy is, I hope you get to know him better by the time this interview, this podcast is done with Nick Fuentes.
30 seconds. Did you ever think you would make it?
So I'm gonna skip to the parts where he
Did you get
talks
picked on?
about Israel, because honestly, it's the only thing I care about. I'm self-centered like that. I don't care about you, Nick Fuentes. I'm so sorry. I just want to hear the dirt you have to say about Jews and Israelis, because I think it's amusing. And also, Patrick promised us that it's gonna be
Did you have bullies?
something that he would.
I was very outspoken. I was very extroverted.
So yeah, so also Patrick promised that this is something that we would enjoy, so we're going to keeping to those parts. You know, I was just watching at my leisure, and then I was like, why am I here alone? I only watched a little bit. I was like, let's watch together.
About politics. I was always getting in political debates in class and in Model UN, but I didn't really get in trouble as much. What's really funny, this might interest you actually, and I've talked about this before, but when I was in Model UN, I was one of the best guys on the team. I would win first place every week. And because if you don't know Model United Nations, you simulate the United Nations General Assembly or the different committees. And it's like role play. It's like a role play game, but for the United Nations. And anyway, so I was one of the better guys on the team. And my junior year of high school, I became the head of the team. I became the secretary general of the team. But I had a major falling out with the guy that ran the team. He was ethnically Arab, I think, extremely pro-Palestine. And I, at that time, was very pro-Israel. I was on Prager University and Breitbart. And so I downloaded all the dogma from the conservative movement at that time. And so I remember we were sitting in the study hall one day, and they had all the flags of the world hanging up on the ceiling. And I said, why do we have the Iranian flag hanging up? I said, they're the #1 state sponsor of terrorism in the world. It shouldn't be up. And he told me, you got to read The Israel Lobby by John Mearsheimer and Stephen Walt. He said, you got to look at the other side. And we had this like vicious back and forth about it. And that is kind of the only major problem I had with faculty over politics, ironically. Now,
so he was faculty.
Yes.
Okay. So how many years older was he from you?
Oh, he must have been his 40s.
And this school, walk me through the demo of the school. Is it a public school? Is it a private school?
It was a pretty affluent public school. Okay. Mostly white.
Got it.
Outside in the suburbs of Chicago.
Naperville.
It was Lyons Township in Western Springs, LaGrange.
Okay. So it's not like it.
So I have to profess something. So my teacher in high school and my homeroom teacher, she was, brace yourselves, everybody. She was a communist. And when she was asked about her opinions, first of all, we had a strict rule that the teachers weren't allowed to express their political opinions, not really. But when we asked about, we tried to probe, She admitted at some point that she's a communist, like really, really, really a communist, honest to God, and voted to the Communist Party in Israel, which is a mixed party, so it's Arabs and Jews, but it's mostly Arab run, and Hadash, and she votes for them. She's a real communist. But when we asked her about, we're interested, she said, listen, you guys, I'm crazy. My political opinions are crazy. I don't think you should ask me. That was beautiful. I want to say that because I want to give some appreciation, right? So teachers, they have influence. And I really appreciate it when she was asked about it. She said, honest to God, I'm just crazy. Don't follow me. And that's it. That's where she ended that. But she was honest to God communist. Can you believe it? All right, I'm gonna skip ahead. Just saying, I'm just, I'm vibing here with Nick. We have similar life stories. I had a teacher that was communist. He had a Muslim pro-Palestine instructor,
it in a new way. And so we were kind of holding like this salon, like this intellectual salon at the Tasty Burger by Fenway, talking about all these new people that are coming around. Richard Spencer, for that matter, Peterson, race, and ideas like race realism, like Western chauvinism, people like Gavin McInnes. And we were all kind of developing our ideas and what we thought was right. And ironically, none of these guys were even white. One of them was Turkish. One of them was actually Assyrian. I know you're Assyrian.
Who was that?
So he's an Assyrian guy from Australia.
Wow.
Yeah, some young man.
Wow. Was he a Christian man or no?
He was Christian.
A Syrian man from Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay.
And one of them was Jewish even. And so he was Russian Jewish. And a lot of people say about me, I mean, I'm an American ethnic. I'm not English or German. I'm
Fuentes. What's Fuentes?
Mexican.
And who's your dad's Mexican?
My father's half Mexican, yes.
What's his other half?
Irish.
And then mom?
She's all Italian.
All Italian. Mm-hmm. Parents,
honestly, he's Irish, Italian, and Mexican. When America was truly white supremacist, those three groups were considered under like subhuman. Maybe not in the same category as Jews, dogs, and blacks, but literally all of them. Italians, Irish, and like all of them were subhuman. That's amazing. It's so funny. Like, what are you advocating for? Do you know that like in the world that you're advocating for, you are in the bottom?
When we're talking to the crew, they're telling me that mom had some influence politically. Is it mom that had more influence politically or dad?
I really wasn't too influenced in that way. I'm really more by my grandmother, by my mom's mother. She was very conservative.
Who did she believe in? Who was her heroes? She would say, Nick, you got to follow this guy. Nick, you got to read this book. Nick, you got to watch this. Who would she talk about?
She loved Mark Levin.
I got it. Okay. So.
Interesting. That's funny. He admired an American black person, Thomas Sowell, and his mother admired a Jewish person, Mark Levin. Amazing. I met his son, by the way.
Super safe, conservative, pro-Israel. This is who your grandmother was. Mm-hmm. Okay. So now let's fast forward to where you're at with Trump. He's there. You're in BU. You're talking to these guys, Jordan Peterson, Gavin McInnes, a Syrian guy from Australia, even one guy that's Turkish, Jewish. You're talking to all these guys. What is that looking like? What's happening with you at that time?
So we're debating. We're really kind of getting down into what it means to be right wing. Because like I said, I'm having this evolution. I was libertarian from like 12 to 17. Trump kind of changed the way I think about things. Then I'm in college and I'm meeting these people and I'm on Twitter. I'm looking at all these new intellectual figures and we're debating, for example, the idea of race.
College, it takes 2 weeks.
Immigration is the issue of 2016.
To make a person lose their mind.
We're talking about illegal immigration, legal immigration, and we're talking about the big topic is the demographic change. America was a white country. It's becoming a non-white country through immigration. And we're talking about the impact that that's going to have. What does it really mean for us? Yes, they're going to vote Democrat, probably. Will they vote Democrat forever? Yeah, they're not quite like us. Can they ever be like us? What does it mean to be white versus black or white versus any other race for that matter. And we kind of get.
Yeah, I don't know if there are any other races, honestly. But all right. When America was a white supremacist, sir, your assumption here that I was radicalized by Discord is false. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm barely on Discord. I sometimes try to read what you guys are writing. Maybe because I'm afraid that you are planning something that I would be blamed for in the future. But that's the only thing I'm checking. Mark, thank you for your support. There is a confirmed video of Nick getting blown by commie YouTuber. Thank you for sharing that. I don't want to read it, honest to God. Ugh. TMI, sir. Thank you for your support.
Get into the idea, I guess maybe the big idea is the politics of identity. That politics maybe is less about, whereas libertarians are obsessed with individualism, which is an abstract concept, the individual as relates to the state. This is abstract. We're now talking about the politics of identity, which is concrete, which is particular, not general, not abstract, but concrete and particular. You have white people and black people. They come from specific places and they bring with them their genetics. They bring with them their culture, their way of doing things. And we're saying we less believe in conservatism than we believe in America specifically. And that was kind of, I guess, the big
Literally
pivot.
nothing he says here makes sense. I'm going to skip ahead. Blah, 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 blah.
Who was still the president during the lame duck period. He told our ambassador to the United Nations not to veto a resolution condemning the West Bank settlements. So there's a resolution saying Israel's settlements in the West Bank are illegal. Normally, the United States vetoes that on behalf of Israel to veto a resolution.
That's interesting. Who are we talking
Say
about?
friendship.
It might have been going in that direction, but no, nothing like
Okay.
that materialized. So yeah, we were just friends. And I started to notice something was up because Trump's doctrine was America first. And that was so attractive to me. He said, we will no longer be misled by the siren song of globalism. It's going to be Americanism, not globalism. And that really sunk into me. And I'll never forget, this was in December 2016. This is what did it for me. And I wrote an article about it on my blog. I had a blog at that time. And I noticed that Obama, who was still the president during the lame duck period, he told our ambassador to the United Nations not to veto a resolution condemning the West Bank settlements. So there's a resolution saying Israel's.
I swear to God, if it was up to Obama, he would have nuked Israel. Unfortunately, it was too difficult to, reason that position. So he didn't. But I think he would have if he could have.
Settlements in the West Bank are illegal. Normally, the United States vetoes that on behalf of Israel to protect them. But Obama instructed our ambassador to abstain. And so the resolution went through. And everybody on the right wing said Obama's an anti-Semite. He hates Jews because he did that. And I said, wait a second. I went through and I did the research. And I said, ever since 1967, during the 6-Day War, when Israel occupied the West Bank and Gaza Strip, it has been the official U.S. policy that we do not support the civilian settlements. That's technically illegal under international law. I said, so all Obama did was really uphold the same policy that every president did, Republican and Democrat, yet they're calling him a Jew hater. I said, I don't think Obama hates Jews. Obama's supported by the Jewish left. People like Saul Alinsky mentored him or influenced him. So I don't think he hates Jews. I think that he's just carrying out our policy. And so I said, how is that any different than when, let's say, a conservative critiques BLM, they get called a racist. You critique feminism, you get called a sexist.
Where were you working at that time? Were you working anywhere? You were independent?
I was independent.
Okay, so you're not with anybody while you're writing this.
Right.
So you're free to write and say whatever you want. Okay,
Right.
Continue.
Yeah, so I was just on my own blog. And so I wrote that out. I said, this is hypocritical. I said, and this is something that crops up over and over is this double standard when it comes to anti-Semitism, when it comes to Israel. And I called this out. And Cassie Dillon, who was my friend, I would raise this issue with her. And I would criticize Ben Shapiro very harshly. He was very anti-Trump at that time. And I said, I think Ben Shapiro is Israel first. And I think that when Trump says in his inaugural, it's America first, why is it that Israel gets all this foreign aid? They're the number one recipient for 50 years. They're not a poor country. Why is it that much largesse? And so I would press her on this and other related questions. And eventually she threw arms up in, I think it was March 2017. And she said, we are no longer in the same movement. She said, you are anti-Israel. The way you're going about this is anti-Semitic.
This is Casey.
This is, yeah, Cassie Dillon.
Cassie Dillon.
She goes, you're attacking Shapiro and in an anti-Semitic way. I don't like your tone. She said, and I really want nothing to do with you anymore. And so she blocked me on Twitter, and my whole friend group who was with Daily Wire, Elliot Hamilton, Aaron Bandler, all these other writers at Daily Wire, they all blocked me. They would not talk to me. And then
now you guys all know each other. You've hung out on your friends.
Yes.
In what context do you guys hang out? Because you're not with Daily Wire.
Right. So we would hang out at, we hung out at the Christmas party.
Well, I don't understand. Did no one sit down and explain to him the geopolitical reasoning to support Israel and the history of American support or lack thereof of Israel? Like he brings it up as if like it is the same thing, supporting Iran and Israel. It's like you choose a team and then this is like you run with it, and it doesn't matter what you do. It does matter. It doesn't. Iran wouldn't do what the Jews do for America or Israel does for America. Why? Like I have several videos about it, about the American-Israeli relationship. So it's not such a big thing, it's not something I really want to get into in this video specifically, especially since I don't have that much time. But I really feel that a lot of the conversation that we're having is like stupid. It's not that it's not the same. You don't understand the history of America. Didn't want to cooperate with Israel. It found itself in a situation where it had to, and it really tried to avoid that situation. Honest to God, it tried to not cooperate with Israel. They tried everything they could to cooperate with anyone but Israel. And after they realized there is literal no one else, then this is when they start cooperating with the Jews. And the one that realized it was Kennedy, right? So he said, listen, honest to God, I'm a Zionist now, mostly because we tried cooperating with the Arabs, all of them, and they're backstabbing assholes that would backstab America at every turn. They're awful people. They're awful to work with, and they work like Arabs, which is very low quality work. So, I understand this feeling of, I understand where it comes from. I feel like a lot of American Jews are they operate from a place of we have to work with Israel because it's like one of their fundamental understanding of the world without ever. It's like a core belief, right? Don't murder, don't steal, and cooperate with Israel. Core belief. And the problem with a lot of times with core beliefs is that people just believe it and they don't necessarily know why it's true, why it has to be true, why it's so important. So people like Nick Fuentes come, and to him, he is neutral, right? How is it different? Why this group and not that group? And if you're in and it's I understand the mentality of why I don't have their side of the conversation either, right? But I also saw it myself where people were like, why? And then they're because, right? Because it's something they believe in. They cannot really articulate it properly. And then you get that. It's like, why do I need to be part of your team? Also, Jews are brutal, right? Especially I don't know, Israelis and Jews in general. If you divert a little bit, then they don't like it. it could be on a very small issue, but Jews are very opinionated and they would react in a very opinionated way on anything that diverts even a little bit from their core beliefs. And the Jews have a lot of core beliefs, a lot of them. Insane amount of core beliefs, right? So it's even, navigating that is not that simple. So Jews, they just grow up with a mentality that we just have to argue until we find reasoning, right? Until like we debate you, and we don't back off. So no matter how much we're like, no, like for our beliefs, like we dive in and then we wouldn't back off. But if you're dealing with somebody that comes from a different culture, they wouldn't do it. And honest to God, they don't necessarily have a reason to do so, especially when he's young. So I like, here's the thing, like I heard Nick Fuentes speak. He's like, he has some gut intuition, but his growth is stunted, right? And the American environment doesn't and did never allowed him to develop his gut intuition thoroughly. What he's saying is something, for example, like the double loyalty of Israel is a real issue that Napoleon Bonaparte, when he went to the Jews and asked, it was a real thing. Listen, I want to give you citizenship. I want you to be French, but you are Jews. So what do you say? And then the rabbis had to have a meeting, the Jews had to have a meeting, and they sat down and said, listen, this is a real issue, right? How do we identify as Israel, as Jewish, which is Judea, all right? It's Judea, which means a citizenship of Judea. This is why every Jew in the world can move to Israel. Being a Jew is akin to having a citizenship, all right? And the Napoleon, he was like, guys, let's be honest, you have a different nationality. It's not only a religion, it's a literal nationality that you have that is different. And they're just like, honest to God, that's a good question. Honest to God, that's true. Let's sit down and figure it out. And then they had realized, they say, okay, first of all, like we have to understand that we need to put the place that we live in on top, right? We need to prioritize where we're at and the laws of the country. And the laws of the country, it's not even from that meeting, obviously. And they came up with this, like, okay, let's say it's dual nationality. It's dual nationality, and there isn't a real reason for those two to come into conflict. Not really, right? But if it does, then it is problematic. But the general understanding is that your loyalty is to the place first, unless that place goes against you, right? So if America, right, installs, brings back segregation, do Black people, are they not allowed to protect their Black community and put their Blackness first? So it's a problem. It's a nuanced thing. It's a delicate thing, but it's a true conversation to be had. And the thing that is very important to understand is that the Jews did a lot for America and still do a lot for America. And a lot of the reason that America is the way it is because it decided to lean on the Jewish interpretation and values of the Bible and so on. You're saying Harbor Jane Zero, but ultimately, if it's not completed loyalty, the place will go against you. There is logic to that. There is 100% logic to that. This is why I think Israelis and American Jews have to know to explain their reasoning, right, properly, for those who don't have dual nationalities. But the other thing is that, I started this live saying Israelis and American anti-Semites have a lot of common understandings. Israelis, a lot of them, if you ask them, would also say Jews are not supposed to live in America. If you're Jewish, you're supposed to be in Judea, right? It's like, it's okay to have a representation there. Yes, you need to have representation of every community in every country. It's part of the diplomacy, and it's just the way things work. But it's it's saying bullshit. It's only Jews and Hindus who get accused of dual loyalty. Hindus also have loyalty to India. I think it's also close to the nationalist type of being. Muslims are not loyal to any place on earth, right? They generally just want to ruin every place they get into, but they're not loyal to any specific place. They're just awful everywhere, honestly. It's a different conversation. But it is a conversation to be had. And if you are a Jew living in America, let's be honest, not like most other groups are. It's nuanced, but most other groups, by the way, the Chinese, that a lot of them are still loyal to China. They spy for China, and China is an adversary to the United States, right? It's a thing. It's a real thing, and it's really hard to stay Jewish without proclaiming loyalty to the land of Israel. So you have conservative and you have Reformed Jews who made Judaism a religion, and basically by doing that they cut off ties with the land of Israel, and they're like, okay, we're not a nation anymore, we're religion now, and as religion, right, religion is mostly about worship and faith, we can be wherever. So that's the thing. So in America you would have Jews that are religious, like Jewish in the way Christians are Christian, right? So it's a religion that they carry with them, and it's not a nationality. But Orthodox Judaism, at its original form, if you take away like Netulei Kauta, which lost their minds, but even Satmar, who are anti-Zionist because they want to have like they have their own like idiotic view of the world that doesn't make any sense because it has lots of internal introductions. You know what I'm saying? They still belong to the nation of Israel, not just in a spiritual faith and religious way, but also as a nationality. So it's an interesting conversation to be having, but at the same time, Jews contributed so much to America to the point where you can say if it wasn't and without Jews, America wouldn't be America. So it's also important to acknowledge the fact that maybe the alternative, maybe it's something that could be tolerated because the alternative is worse. But something is problematic about it. And there was a conflict that had been in the talk about between American Jews and Israelis for a long time, a long time. Ever since I remember myself, it's always been like it's a debate.
Party for the Massachusetts College Republicans that she hosted, and
Got it.
I did her show a couple of times.
Nothing real. Oh, so you did do her show on Daily Wire?
Not on Daily Wire, on RSBN.
Okay,
she had
got
a
it.
show.
Okay,
yeah, and so
they all block you. They want to have nothing to do with you at the time.
Right.
We're not on the same page. We're going different direction. Has she yet converted to Judaism or not yet? She's still a Christian at the time.
She had begun the conversion at that point.
And were you seeing the evolution of that happening or
I
no?
was, yes.
Was she seeing somebody while you guys were talking or no?
I don't believe she was.
Okay.
But she had been to Israel a bunch of times.
So why was she wanting to convert? Why was she going through that process? What was her reasoning? Did she tell you?
No, we never discussed it.
Okay, I'm going to skip a little bit ahead. All right, a couple of minutes.
And this is because Ben's in her ear. Who in your mind at 18 years old are you saying this is why she flipped? Who are you thinking?
I don't care about his love life.
Some sort of animosity or whatever word you want to use, animosity or frustration towards Ben. What is the timeline from that moment, 18, to frustration and animosity towards Ben?
Well, I had already had animosity towards him.
Why is that?
So in December, some months before, I put out a tweet on Twitter, and I had about 1,000 followers on Twitter. 1,000. Think of that's not a big account. And I tweeted, I said, if you put China over America, you should go to China. If you put Mexico over America, you should go to Mexico. You see where this is going? I said, if you put Israel over America, you should go live in Israel. Shapiro quote tweeted that and said, accusing Jews of dual loyalty is the surest sign that you're an anti-Semite.
Had 1,000 followers?
See, I disagree with Ben Shapiro here. Like, I think it was dirty and it was wrong. Jews do have, to some extent, dual loyalty. But it's, it doesn't mean that it's bad. You can be like, all of us have dual loyalties to our mom and dad. There is a lot of dual loyalties that we have. It's just something that needs to be explained, because I agree with the notion of Jews clinging to it.
Someone must have sent it to him.
Does he know anything about you at the time? Like, are you a formidable name in a circle that he would know about you?
He had been tipped off about me because Cassie Dillon had filmed this debate I did on campus.
Yeah.
She live streamed it on Twitter, and he saw it. And she texted him and said, you got to take this guy under your wing. He's unbelievable. He's the next big thing. He's a little Trumpy, she goes, because they hated Trump at that time.
Who was their candidate? I know they were DeSantis 2020, but who were they 2024? But who were they during that time?
In 16, they were for Rubio, Cruz.
Oh, Cruz was it back at that time. I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So she says you got to go because he's a little bit Trumpy. And then what's his response to her?
He said, I'll take a look at him. I'll take a look at him.
And she told you that? So she said to you, I told Ben he should. And he said he'll take a look at you.
She sent me the screenshot. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. So now this is starting to make sense. So at this point, while you're going through this, you when you put that tweet out, were you directing it towards him or not at all? Was it general?
By the way, this question is also very common and expressed many times by Israelis as well, because they are also bothered by the fact that people, some American Jews, like advocate for Israel, but not necessarily actually for Israel. So groups like IPAC, they work for American Jews, and they promote what American Jews want at the local level. And they promote policies that make them feel like they would have a better life in America rather than Israelis won't get bombed a lot of times. So Israelis are also not very happy about it either, right? So Israelis also ask the same question. It's like, who are you? Like, what is your loyalty? And if you are loyal to America, don't say anything about representing Israel in any way, because you don't represent us. You are not. You are American Jews. You care about your synagogue in New York, not about the synagogue in Tel Aviv. You don't care about it. If you do, then get an Israeli citizenship and make it obvious or something. So it's just that the thought of somebody representing us, but they're not representing us, is also problematic on the other side. So this is why we have things in common, right? You have people asking those double loyalty, right? The dual loyalty. And then there you have Israelis like me, or a lot of Israelis, it's not my question alone, who ask the same question, saying, hey, people think you represent us. So make a choice, make it clear, right? It's not like, I get it. Like, yes, you can advocate and like being like an Iranian American, right? Right now. It's like, okay, but let's be honest, it's not the same. It's not exactly the same thing either. So it has to be talked and understood. And also we have to put those limits and borders, right? You have to understand, like, sometimes I don't want American Jews to speak for me, honest to God, most of the time. And most Israelis don't want it because of that issue. It's the other, like the other side of the same coin.
Since October 7th, right? Charlie Kirk was sitting right here where you're sitting at in our other building, but in that seat. And it was 3 days or 4 days after October 7th. I think we were the first podcast he did where he actually questioned, how is it? He asked very fair questions. We're like, that's actually a very good question. How do you say you have the best intel, yet you're able to get them to attack you? You can't have one or the other, right? So innocent questions people are asking. I'm not speculating. I'm not saying anything. All I'm saying is it's a good question for us to ask. So it wasn't like he was being anti-Semitic. He's purely asking a question, right? When did you go to that level?
To the level of asking questions or beyond that?
Beyond that.
Beyond that, I would say it would have to be later that year. So later in the spring or summer of that year.
That year is
2017.
2017. Okay, so why 2017?
Well, like I said, I had been on this journey when I got into college and started asking these questions. And then I encountered this very political response, which is to say that they started to treat me as an adversary politically instead of like an interlocutor, instead of like I was debating them about this. And, you know, the next step in that, of course, is that here's the best part. They didn't leave me alone. It's not like they said, we can't be friends. You do your thing. We do our thing. I got a call a couple of weeks after the fact from my boss at RSBN. So I was doing the show America First on YouTube. This is a small company at this time run by Jacob and Joe Seals. They founded it. I get a call from Joe Seals, who runs the company, and he says, what's going on with you and Cassie? I said, well, we had this falling out. You know, she told me she doesn't want to be my friend anymore.
Is Cassie a big name that people know who she is, or?
She was a rising star. She wasn't big at that time. She had 20,000 followers. So she wasn't anybody, but he calls me up and says,
sorry.
The reason I'm asking is because she has been calling me every day for the past 2 weeks, complaining about you and saying, did you see what he said on his show? That's so racist. Did you see what he said on his show? Asking to pull my show off the air.
Got it.
And then it was a couple months later that the first.
That is such an Ashkenazi American move. God damn it. Sounds disturbing. Oh, whatever. Okay, I'm gonna skip ahead.
Hit piece ever was written about me.
Like, it's so funny. Like, if don't amplify voices you disagree with, it gets engagement, but it's dirty. I don't like it. Like, you can say it about me choosing to talk to Nick Fuentes here, but I don't do it to demonize him. Like, I want to bring him, like, I don't know if he needs to be brought back, not brought back, but I think he's thinking, I don't know, it's interesting to me. And it's clearly, it's like, I don't think he's someone that must have been lost necessarily. I don't know.
I go there for a job training, and I'm thinking about dropping out of college and working for Leadership Institute. I go there for a job training. It's about 2 weeks, and it's in DC, and you stay there in like a bunk dormitory style living. And for 2 weeks, it's sort of this like boot camp, and they try to see what you're made of. It's a training to see if you're going to be a field representative, where you go across the country for 3 months and set up these campus conservative chapters. And so I go there, and the first day that I'm there, they have everybody go up and down and introduce themselves. And they say, tell us your name, where you're from, and why you're a conservative. First day of a 2-week training. And they call on me and I say, I'm Nick Fuentes. I said, and I'm a conservative because our country is becoming unrecognizable. I said, you know, France is no longer France. Paris is no longer Paris. America is no longer America. Mass migration is changing what America is. I said, and I want to conserve what America historically has always been. Now, the first day that I say that, it turns out the instructor is a Lebanese immigrant. She hates the state.
This is another thing, right? What do you mean what America has always been? Are you talking about like the decade that you experienced between like 1995 and 2000? Like what America are you talking about? America went through a lot of changes, went through a lot of phases. It's such a I don't know if it had like a long period of being one thing. It's just, if you don't even have a century of being something that is concrete, then what is it talking about, right? It's like a little bit. Here's that's the thing, is like, okay, you get your information from your parents, all right, that's a couple of decades, but then your grandparents already would tell you something different.
Statement. She takes my application and throws it in the garbage, but she doesn't tell me that. So I'm there for the whole 2 weeks, but I'm already disqualified.
Christian, Jewish, Muslim, she's a Christian?
I assume she was Christian.
Lebanese immigrant.
Right.
Okay. You remember that person's name, or?
I don't remember her name.
Okay. But how do you know she did that?
Because I had a friend that worked the training. He was Polish Catholic, very hard right, and he told me that's exactly what happened.
Okay. Do you know why?
Why she canceled because she took offense that I said something against immigration. Hi, I'm Nick Fuentes. If you want to text me or call me or ask me a question, you can find me.
To common identity that we have. Okay. So she's offended by that. So now you can't go here.
Well, it gets better. So that's day number one. Why are you a conservative? Because immigration's changing the country. She hates it, disqualifies me. Now, I'm still there for 2 weeks trying to get a job that I'm never going to get because she already threw my application away. Well, the final day, this is the best part. Final day of the training, all the applicants had become kind of like a tight-knit group. We're all friends. We're literally living together. So we're sleeping in the same dormitory. We're doing these 10-hour job trainings every day. It's the last day. We already found out who's going to get the job and who isn't. I know I'm not getting the job. And so it's like 3 a.m., our last day. We're all in the common area, just hanging out. Late at night, we're talking about politics. And at that point, they realized I was a pretty far-right guy. I was maybe more far-right than anybody there. And we're all talking about politics. And it comes up, we're talking about interracial relationships and marriage. And I said, well, I'm not in favor of interracial marriages. That's against my values. I want to have a white wife. I want to have white kids. That's important to me. Now, there was a girl who was in the group. Her name was Emily Faulkner. Now she's like a big pro-life activist. She's married. But at that time, she was in this little group. She pulls out her phone and she starts secretly recording me.
Yeah, that's not interesting, honestly. I'm not gonna lie. I don't care about the racial parts. I also think that the racial thing, like, you know, if this is something that you learn from your parents, you might say those things. I don't find it very interesting, honest to God. He can marry whoever he wants, whether like, it's another thing where, you know, it's not politically correct, but it's not completely untrue either. Not that I think there is truth to it in a sense that you should put that kind of things first. It's the thing that happens when you are young and your mind goes through shortcuts, right? So you have to have like a system of values, and then you understand that Black culture usually doesn't fit those values. So that this is where you say, okay, I don't want to be part of it. So you translate it to, okay, I want my kids to be white. And then that means that your reasoning and the things that you put and, you know, you prioritize are effed up. But if you're really are on it, like if you have some deeper thinking and you're not a child anymore, you can also at some point realize that probably some of that comes from, I want somebody who has a cultural similarity to me, right? And there is undeniable, unfortunately for now, correlation between skin color and cultural behavior. And it turns to, and when you don't go through the developmental steps properly, because you're thrown into the spotlight too young, then you never actually reach the point where you can properly understand, like, where's the problem, why, like, what is okay, what is not okay, and have like something that is a bit more of an interesting argument. Otherwise, it's just not interesting. It's shallow, and shallow things are boring. So yeah, all right. I'm gonna skip to the end, I think, where he talks about who contributed more, because I have to leave soon. I'm all prepared to leave the house, except like I'm not wearing makeup, but forgive me. Oh, here. Okay. It's at 1:30.
Mom's a Christian, dad's a Christian, mom was a communist, dad was an imperialist, went to Germany, refugee camp, came to the States. Do you think there should be more opportunities of guys like me to end up here? Or do you think it's better off for America, purely based on odds, to minimize more of me coming to America?
Well, I think that the most important thing.
Can I say something? Because I'm probably going to bring an answer that is a different perspective from Nick Fuentes. Every person that America pulls out from the rest of the world is usually the most talented, the most well-positioned, and so on and so forth. It turns the rest of the world to shit. The rest of the world, your country, your origin country needs you. And I would really love it that there would be this understanding that there is something immoral with taking and bringing even the best immigrants to your country. It would be so much better if you could find, like if you can have some sort of a meeting place, like bring them over, give them tools, and try to help them make their country of origin better. That's what I think.
To consider about immigration is it's just the volume, it's the numbers. I don't have a problem in principle with immigration at all. If we brought in 1 million, or maybe not 1 million, but if we brought in, let's say, 300,000 people every year that are like you, that are intelligent, that are productive, that are going to be generative, I don't necessarily have a problem with that in and of itself. The problem is that for 30 years, we bring in 2 or 3 million people per year. The foreign-born population has doubled. We brought in 50 to 60 million people since 1990. That's just too many people. And how I would distinguish it is that we're bringing in so many people that it's fundamentally altering what America is. You go to like Miami. Miami's like a Caribbean country. Like it doesn't even feel like America. It feels more like Costa Rica or something.
Yeah, my brother, everywhere he went, people talked to him in Spanish, and they were so surprised that he wasn't Spanish-speaking person. Well, he didn't look American, so I just assumed. They just assumed, which is funny. But it's true. It's a real thing, You have gated communities, and like, make no mistake, places like Dearborn, like everywhere that Muslims take over, is gonna become a terrorist hub. It's gonna become a separate system, and they would smuggle weapons there, which is obviously not as hard. You can get them legally as well, but they're gonna use those places as military bases. They're gonna use Dearborn as military base. They're gonna use everywhere they take over as a military base. And it's true for the cartels, and it's true for a lot of the Chinese intelligence gathering. There is truth to it. It's not a lie. It just, again, everything is, I'm assuming, I need to hear him out, but I'm assuming that he stops too early. When you stop too early, when your mind, right, stops before reaching the correct conclusion, the consequences of it, the cascading consequences of doing a half-assed thinking job could be detrimental. Yeah.
You go to New York, LA, it doesn't feel like what America used to be, what America is distinctly. And that's what I have a problem with, that pretty soon everywhere it's going to be so diverse, linguistically, ethnically, religiously, that you can't even say America is anything. You know, like the mayor of Minneapolis, he's doing advertisements in Somalian. What is that?
Yeah, they had a cop. The cop badge is now in Arabic. I don't know if you saw that or
yes.
not. Yeah. How do you feel about that?
I think that's horrible.
What do you think about between the two communities, Muslim and Jews? Which one concerns you more?
Jews, for sure.
Tell me why.
More powerful. They're more powerful.
So more powerful in a way. You're talking the fact that they have money, finance, Hollywood. Is that what you're?
Yeah, they have more position in American society.
And how do you think they got that?
I think they got it because they are.
That was the exact question you have to ask.
Are extremely connected. They're a transnational entity. You know, this is how the Rothschilds got started. Their superpower is that they live everywhere, and they have their Jewish identity supersedes their local identity. So a Jewish person in America or in Germany or in France or in the UK, they can all talk to each other and work together.
Do you think that's a bad thing?
Not in and of itself. It is detrimental for America, though. Is
it detrimental, though? Because, I'm a Syrian, right? Mm-hmm. And I wish Assyrians were more like this. Mm-hmm. And let me tell you why I relate to them. We don't have a country. Assyrians used to have a country. We used to be the first warriors. We were written about in the Bible. You read it all over the place. You know, the history we had, the things we invented. And then we became a little cocky. And God came in and was like, listen, man, relax, Assyrians. You ain't going to come and be the king of the jungle. It's me. And you hear the stories about that they built the tower to go all the way to the top because we are Assyrians and, and then we failed. It's like, no, look at you now. No one knows who Assyrians are. You don't even have a country, right? We know the land in Iraq or wherever you are. You don't have it anymore. I think when a community becomes too cocky, the man upstairs is going to handle that himself, right? But in a sense, when you see they went from a small community to have this much influence, isn't that almost impossible for them to pull off? Like, isn't that? So it either produces one of two things. I'm not intimidated. I'm not a guy that is envious or jealous or, oh my God, that guy's richer than me. That guy's this guy's, I'm not. I want to see what they did and what worked for them. For example, to me, when I think about Jews, I think about Mormons, I think about Scientologists. I used to have an office where half the office was all Scientology, and I learned all these phrases, assist, or, I went to their church and so Dianetics and L. Ron Hubbard and what he would say when you get a headache, you do this and all these weird extras. I'm like, wow, interesting. How much money did we give? $200,000 off. Why'd you give that? But let me tell you, those guys that were in, they had each other's back. It was a fraternity that you wish family members were like this, right? I think Scientologists have it maybe more than Jews. So I think Jews will bite each other a little bit, not as much. And then Mormons have each other's back. Of course, there's a fallout out as well where people come out and they'll talk about God makers or, what Gordon B. Hinckley, and I've read all of that stuff from over the years. But what's wrong with them winning at the highest level?
Well, I agree with you that it is remarkable, and it is actually ominous how much they've achieved. Here's the problem, though. America's an open society. The premise of this country is it's self-government, of, by, for the people. There's a egalitarian idea that we are all citizens, and our government is going to be comprised of the citizenry of America. That's deeply embedded in who we are and in our government and our whole system. And take me, for example, I'm Italian, Mexican, and Irish. The Italians were very much like this when they immigrated to America. You know, they had in Chicago what they called the outfit, which was the mafia, and they looked out for each other. And when my grandfather died on my mom's side, I believe my grandmother got a loan from the outfit, and they would come by
That's a very boring story, sir.
every month or whatever, and they'd bring a fruit basket and they'd look after her, and they provided
Was it
financially also.
Spilatra's group? Do you know the history of it, or was it
These are some of the
Blah,
stories.
blah, blah.
another institution to form Bank of America and change its name to Bank of America? Right.
Mhm.
The tellers were Italians. You know, they would give small little loans, $10, $4, $5 to them. And some people were not supportive of that. They're like, what are Italian immigrants doing here? You guys are becoming too much power in New York. We're not happy about this. So there was some of that going on
Yeah.
100
Well,
years ago.
And that's what I'm saying is that did exist. And then what happened eventually is that Italians assimilated. Eventually, these groups, these ethnic advocacy groups, were broken up, if you could call the outfit that, or the mob of New York. And then Italians assimilated. And when I grew up, I saw myself as American. I didn't see myself as Italian American. I just saw myself as American. And I think that, you know, when you see Jewish people working together, I don't think there's anything wrong with that inherently. And I agree with you. It's like a superpower. It's actually admirable in some ways. They look out for each other. But if society becomes, American society in particular, a place where every group is ganging up, well, we're the whites, we're the blacks, we're the Jews, we're the then I think what America is starts.
This is why this is so interesting to me, you know, because on surface level, it's true. What he's saying is true. But in reality, Jews are special, the chosen people. I don't know if you as a society want those who guard the Torah, who guard the Bible, who guard the knowledge, the bookkeepers. I don't know if you want them to lose the knowledge that they have, because then losing the knowledge that they have would be detrimental to society. It's also true specifically to the Kohens, for example, who are a subgroup in the Jewish community. They have extra responsibilities. And because they are born into it, they learn it, they carry that responsibility, that knowledge is preserved of being a Kohen. So I can say how it looks like from a Jewish perspective that there is even a smaller group where they have extra knowledge that they carry with them, or extra responsibility, extra things. If they weren't assigned that special chosenness, that knowledge that they carry would have been lost. It's such a weird, extraordinary circumstance where if you look at that as in sometimes you have to have things that are from birth. Unfortunately, if somebody is trained from birth to do a certain role, have a certain role, there is a good chance they're going to be better at it. And that's where I say, you know what, like maybe there is something wrong with thinking that or applying the same logic to different groups without dissecting each group's role. The Jews are assimilating in American society in a very, very fast, rapid pace. And you can see that. And they become complete degenerates, right? A lot of the Reform Jews. And they don't know anything about Judaism. Those who are more strict about it, the Orthodox Jews, they maintain and they carry this knowledge from generation to generation. But those Reform Jews, or even like those who stray away even a little bit, if you're a mixed marriage, this knowledge gets lost. And this knowledge, if you look in the history of America, the Jewish knowledge, bookkeeping, had played a crucial part in making it succeed, right? We have to, this is something that needs to be acknowledged. That's what I think. So, you know, it's like, why are they different? Because they are different. They have a role. The Cohens are different. They have a role. when I was a child, I was angry about it, by the way, just so you know. I was angry that I was born a Jew. I thought, why do I need it? Like I always looked at non-Jews, at boys. I looked at them and I was envious. I was like, they go walk around the world without this heavy sense of responsibility. They are free people. They are, they're like, they walk. I felt like they can walk, and they were skipping. They were like, they do moonwalk. This is how much they had less weight on them. That's how I looked at it. That's how I looked at it when I was growing up. I was like, why am I a Jew? Like, why do I have to carry that? I want to have, like, I was jealous. That's the truth.
To come apart. And it turns into kind of like a bit of a politicized race war. And I think that you either have to have a society where everybody gets to play by those rules and everybody could be pro what they are, or everybody is assimilated and we're all Americans. And that's why I say it's detrimental, is that if Jewish people are Jewish first, not of, by, and for America, but of, by, and for the Jewish nation, this is problematic when they're in positions of power, because are they looking out for all of us, or are they looking out for themselves first? And when you look at the Israel policy, that's where people start to say, I think you're looking out for yourselves first. I think you're biased. And unfortunately, you're using the public purse and American soldiers.
This is why an American
to fight your own
Jew
battles. And that's the problem. It's not, I don't have hatred for them. I don't have a problem with them in themselves or even what they do. It's just that with our system, that doesn't work.
You know what I would say to that as well?
Stop for a second. Stop. Okay, fine. This is why American Jews who are in politics, like, let's be honest. Don't you want to be able to question Ilhan Omar in the same way, right? Well, if you are, you have to know how to answer, because the question is legitimate. So this is why Americans in politics, American Jews in politics, need to know the history, and that America literally tried to work with any other country, gave it, and realized that it literally had no choice but to cooperate with Israel because of all those biases. So you are so afraid of the bias of working with Israel that seems like you're overcorrecting your bias to the point where you ignore geopolitical realities. This is the reality that was true. It's like to say, oh, I'm not influenced by my Christian upbringing, I'm not influenced by my Jewish upbringing. It's like you actually have a bias that makes you minimize the geopolitical situation and the understanding of it, ironically. So it's so important to understand and see things as they are. And also be able to say, let's play it out. Let's throw Israel under the bus. Let's understand what's going on here. Not in an emotional way. Because this is something that was tried before so many times. And you have to know to understand, to explain it.
When, if they use the American soldiers in their advantage and all that other stuff. Okay. Who negotiated that deal? Some president negotiated that deal. Someone said yes to it, right? When they say, well, let me tell you, that person is afraid to platform this guy because he's afraid his donors are going to go and do this. And it's Israel's fault. No, it's not. It's the guy who runs it's not Israel's fault. What are you talking about? This guy sends me a message, APAC. I got a text, not a text. What do you call it in the X? A DM I get from APAC. Okay. Hey, we'd like you to come to Israel. We'd like to invite you. I'm sure many people get that message, right? They send it. I said, I'm going to come with my pastor. I don't want you to pay for it. I'm going to pay for it. I want to bring my crew because I want to go see Jerusalem. You're not going to see me putting the what do they call it? The kippah. I'm not going to put that on. But guess what? I respect the culture, and I want to go to Gaza, and I would ask for some idea of protection that if we can go to Gaza, show it to her. I want to see this stuff. I want to go with my pastor. First time around, I'm not going to take my kids. Maybe the second, third time, I'll take my kids. But to me, I don't put the onus on, like when a guy's like, that guy has slept with so many people, this, and the girl said yes. No, but you don't understand. He's a man whore. But is it
blah, blah, blah.
But it's difficult to say on that because I also think that there's quite a bit of a detriment. I think that the melting pot comes from the Jewish community.
What do you mean by that?
The idea of the melting pot, that comes from a Jewish playwright. Because Jewish people come to America and like all immigrants, they say, well, we want America to be more welcoming. So they start to spin up these ideas that, well, America was never this country of white Christians. It's always been a melting pot for all immigrants. They want the country to be more open because that makes it more comfortable for them. It makes it more tolerant for them. But this has also made us more open and tolerant for Muslims, for example.
That's not.
We're bringing.
That's
I mean,
not wrong.
who's been the biggest driver of like the Hart-Celler 65 Immigration Act? It was like the SPLC, which is run by Jewish lawyers, and so they're major drivers of mass migration. They're also major drivers of the pro-Israel.
I mean, it's not completely wrong. Let's be honest. There is something like people apply the same logic. They say, okay, the Jewish community is like that, so we can. I mean, it does make sense. I think it's true. Honest to God. I think a lot of Jews also thought this way, and I thought they were stupid. But I cannot say that like you can actually blame, right? You need it's a lazy brain argument. But I've come to learn that people are not smart usually, so they never stop thinking. And if one rule applies in one place, they just apply it everywhere without thinking at all.
Israel politics, like the Iraq War. There was many Jewish journalists, and
that's the funny thing. Like, I think it's, I don't know how true it is, but American Jews supported the Iraq War. Could be true. Israelis didn't. And are there like another conflict, right, between Israelis and American Jews? Israelis were against it. American Jews were for it, if we take it at face value.
And pundits.
And then people mix it up, saying, oh, Israel supported it. So people say, I think Netanyahu did. Netanyahu was, okay, so I looked at that. He was forced to say that. He was coerced into saying that. And when he said it, he even said it with caveats. I don't think he said it wholeheartedly. He said it in a similar way to him agreeing to maybe there's like, in theory, maybe it's possible to have a Palestinian state in the Bar-Ilan speech, right? He had like a gun pointed in his head, and then he wasn't even like the prime minister back then, by the way. So the prime minister of Israel went against it without any hesitation.
Advocates.
Sure.
So a point being is like when you calculate on net, and I agree with you, like I think there are a lot of people that are critical of Israel that are reluctant to acknowledge the good that Jews do. And I think that Jews they're brilliant. Many of them are brilliant.
So what I'm saying net positive, I'm talking jobs, economy. How often you hear about crime, what they do. Like if you have a choice between living in a city in Minnesota, Dearborn, and living in, I don't know what's the biggest city. What's the city that Boca Raton, let's just say, right? If you have a choice between raising your family between Dearborn and Boca Raton, where do you choose?
Boca Raton.
Okay,
of course,
so the point is like they go to a place. And by the way, to me, if that was Muslims, guess what? I would say Muslims. But statistically, wherever they live, it's safer, things are nicer, things get better.
I agree.
And that is one part to measure where they're at. Now, do I see them overly aggressive? Do I see them the type that are going to use politicians and buy them like Marjorie Taylor Greene and other people are saying? 100%. Do I see them? They're going to be there in everyone's DM and email saying, hey, we'd love to support you. We'd love to bring you to Israel and, doing all that stuff. It's obvious. I'm seeing it myself. Okay. Do I look at that and shame them and say, oh, you shame on? I look at that and say, no, I wish Armenians would do that. I've never gotten an invitation from Prime Minister of Armenia. He should probably send me an invite to go there, right? It's not a bad idea to come and show the country. I'm Armenian. I'm a Syrian. Syrians don't have a country. It's probably a good idea. You don't see that. You wish others would do that. So for me, as much as when I go into that, By the way, I'll give you one other side that Israel's going to be like, yeah. This other side to me is I actually do believe they leverage Mossad to get intel. I actually do believe they use blackmail. I actually do believe they do that. So, there's nothing going on with Epstein. No. Michael Wolff did a podcast with him 2 months ago. And when he was at Epstein's house, the 100 hours of recording that he has with him, I said, how many times was Ehud Bakar there? Am I saying his name correctly? Or Barak?
Ehud.
Ehud Barak, may God put him in jail. May he rot and end his life in jail. Baruch Hashem. This guy is a traitor. He's a traitor. He needs to be jailed for treason. Ehud Barak, the thing he's doing behind the scenes, he's an anti-Israel agitator. He was kicked out of office after a year because he was such a bad prime minister, and people were onto him that is just a raging psychopath who should not have any kind of control anywhere. People were onto him, and the moment they were onto him, he did everything to ruin Israel. He's still doing everything he can to ruin Israel. This little piece of shit should rot in jail. Yeah.
Barak. He said he was there many times. He said Bill Gates there many times. Why would the former prime minister visit the guy 30-something times? Just because the conversation's great? That's a little bit suspect, right? So to me, I'll go there, but I'll go the other end. So what I'm trying to do, like if you're wondering what my role is here, okay? My role is I want to continue talking to you. I want us to do many of these.
Do you know how much Israel is celebrated when the name Ehud Barak appeared in the Epstein files? You know how much we're looking for it forward? Please frame him. Please release the Epstein files, and please give us a reason to hang him from a tree. Please, we ask America. We will not get offended. Honest to God, this person is awful.
Together as we go through whatever journey we go through next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And I'd like you to be around 60 years from now to see whatever you want to do. And let's see what your ideas are going to land and what they're going to go through. I'm sure as we all age, some of them get better, some of them get sharper. Maybe this used to be a number 1 to us at 26. Maybe it's going to be number 6 when we're 46. Maybe this used to be number 11 when we're 26. Now it's number 2 when we're 52. Who knows? Life changes. You evolve, right? You're just watching Trump in the last 10 years change. He's not the same. Just the way he does his speaking. I was watching him speak yesterday, and the way he's doing press conference, a very different guy on where he's at. And it's not like he's tired and he's not working. You said him and Charlie Kirk, the Protestant, workers thing that they have. It's not that. I just see his going through it himself. I would like people on both sides to not be like, oh my God, he just had Nick Fuentes on. That's it. No, you don't control me. I want to talk to you. Oh my God, he brought Cuomo and he did this. Dude, Cuomo,
I feel like Patrick has a lot of grudge that he had to unleash here. All right, I'm going to wrap it up because I have to go away. And I'm going to go through some chats. So Vinyl here says you're not allowed to get DNA test in Israel. Not true. My cousin is Israeli. Very, very Israeli. In fact, and she's my cousin. She's my dad's sister daughter. She got a DNA test in Israel. So apparently you can do that because they'll find out they're all from Eastern Europe and not Israeli at all. She got 99.8% Western Asian in her DNA. So 99.8% West Asia, which means Middle Eastern DNA. I don't know. So Bacon Kwaga here is saying, Becky, your place is in the kitchen. Don't worry, I am in the kitchen. This is a kitchen. Every place could be a kitchen, so don't worry about it. Spooky Shauna, thank you. Spooky Shauna, you changed your name. Also, in Rebecca thought Fuentes is a Roman and they need an image to understand concept. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. Thank you, Shauna, for your support. Eleanor, thanks for the live. Thank you for your support. Guys, if you guys want to support me, I really would appreciate it. It's how I can do what I do. And ideally, you can go to Buy Me Coffee, PayPal, Patreon, and any one of those platforms. to support me. I personally prefer buy me coffee. So go buy me coffee if you guys want to see this channel going. Islamic grooming gangs are already in the US, in Patterson, New Jersey, Dearborn, Minneapolis. Yeah, that's an awful thing to import. Thank you for support. Chief Wiggum here, Palestinians won the PR war without spending $1. You are gravely mistaken. They had spent an enormous amount of dollars. It just wasn't, it was oil money by Saudi, Turkey, like the Muslim world, basically. So they won the PR war by spending billions and billions on that. By the way, the USSR did the same thing. They spent all their money on doing a PR war, and their own country was left hungry. So they prioritized their promoting communism and Islam and all this bullshit and Palestinianism over their own people, because their ideology is that important, you know. Their degeneracy and the need to run the world is that important. But you're wrong. They spent billions, trillions of dollars on it. Spooky Shauna, do you know how many Jews and Ben Israel are constitutional lawyers? It's a lot. Hands off Fuentes. I don't know what it means, but thank you so much for your support. I didn't understand. It was neocons, which was only partially Jewish. Well, thank you. I guess supporting Iraq war. I guess so. American politics are American politics. All right. Anything here? All right. I'm going to wrap it up and say thank you for being here. Good night. Share, like, comment, all those things. Good night. It's not that late yet, but gotta go. See ya.